I'm probably going to title this section something like, why am I not getting the same damage that you're getting? So this seems to be a comment that I do get regularly on my videos, where people say they've tried to copy my setup and they don't even get anywhere near close to the damage that I'm getting. So this section is going to be just looking at all the reasons why, because when I do get those kind of comments, it really hurts, because it's actually kind of hard to pinpoint the root cause of missing damage for people's builds just with that statement, because I can't really see your magic attributes. I can't really see what's going on with your character if you're missing something. So I'm going to try my best to kind of be as concise as possible and mention the top reasons why you might be missing damage. So assuming you've got everything looking perfect for the build, things like the legendary essence, the skills, the legendary gems that you've gone for gems with really good synergy, and also you've listened to the tip that I've said about getting your character in the correct position relative to the dummy, which is really important. The things that I want to go over is mainly the stats, because I believe that the stats are kind of the key to unlocking the extra damage on your character. So the first stat that I believe is incredibly important is the cooldown. For cooldown, I really recommend that you aim to have a breakpoint of 13 or 14%, and this will make the build really smooth to play. Like I said, this build is a spam build which relies on spamming your skills as fast as possible, so cooldown really helps. And the way you can get cooldown is you can get it as a roll on your magic attributes for your amulet, your gloves, which I don't have, and also the rings, which I do have. And you can also get cooldown from running a legendary gem like Bottled Hope. I decided that it wasn't so good to run Bottled Hope in this particular setup, so I actually dropped it. You can also get cooldown from OTH runes in your helmet and your shoulders, I believe. So the breakpoint that you want to aim for, like I said, is 13 or 14%. And this is really good because basically with things like awaken slots, like for example here, you can see that I have a slow time cooldown 10%. So if you have something like 13-14%, it's going to get it up to 23 or 24%, which is really good. So if you don't have that breakpoint for cooldown, I'd really recommend that you actually change up your essence. This is what I mean by not having the correct stats, because if you don't have the correct stats, suddenly the essence choices might need to change because they won't be optimal anymore. So if you don't have enough cooldown, then I would recommend switching out Trifling Piffle for the Frenetic Spark, which is going to give you Lightning Nova cooldown, 18.6% to be exact, and this is actually performs a lot better than this essence here if you don't have the required cooldown. You could also potentially switch out the Blood of the Wind essence for the essence which gives you Arcane Wind cooldown. That one is also okay. It all depends on your cooldown stats. So if you have different stats to me, then be prepared to actually switch up some of these essence here to more optimal choices. So moving on now to another really important stat is critical hit chance. I'm sure you've heard this before. Critical hit chance scales with damage like crazy, and it's one of the most important stats. So you really want to have critical hit chance on everywhere that you can get it. Like I mentioned with the ZUH runes, you also want to have it as a critical hit chance magic attribute, which you can roll on your weapons and your offhands, and also your helmet and your shoulders. So I am missing a few rolls here, which I'll also be showing, and the breakpoint that you want to aim for here is to have 25% unbuffed critical hit chance, because when you do buff it, you want to be as close to 100% as possible. It's really, really crucial that you aim for that buffed 100%. So how am I getting the extra critical hit chance? Well, that's by running the legendary gems, the Rolling Consequence and the Mother's Lament. So if you're running two of these critical hit chance gems, it's really good because it basically means that you can actually change up your sets. So instead of the Banquet setup, which gives you the critical hit chance, you can drop this for something more, giving you more damage like the Baron setup, which like I said. So everything ties in together. Your legendary gem choices make a huge impact on your sets and vice versa. So the other gem that can give you critical hit chance, I believe, is the Cutthroat's Grin. So basically, if you're running two of these gems that give you critical hit chance, then it should be enough that you don't go for something like 4 pieces of Banquet. But if you're only running one of them, I believe, honestly, if you have a Rolling Consequence at rank 10, then it should be sufficient for you to have the critical hit chance that you need. The other critical hit chance source, like I mentioned, is the pets. So the pet traits are really, really important, because if you do have the legendary pet trait here, this one is going to increase, I believe, up to 7 or maybe even 8%. I don't really remember, to be honest, but if you have basically the trait on each of your bonded familiars here, it's going to increase this base crit stat. So it means that you're going to reach the 100% sooner. And once you get to that 100%, then you're basically golden and you're going to really, really do a lot of crazy damage. damage. So the next really important stat that I want to mention is the attack speed. So a lot of people overlook this stat, but I think that it's really important to mention, especially for a build like this. So this build scales like crazy with attack speed, and you can see here that the base attack speed that I have is 25%. I would aim for something at least close to 20% as a breakpoint, and you can get attack speed from a lot of different sources. You can get it as a magic attribute on your helmet, your shoulders, and also your weapons, your offhands and main hands. So I've tried to get attack speed on most of the magic attributes here. I haven't been quite so lucky, and honestly I am missing it on a few of these, but it's honestly one of the most important ones, and it's even more important than something like critical hit damage or even skill damage, I would say, for this particular build. You can also get it from runes, like I mentioned. So I do have the TYR rune here, which is giving me 2% increased attack speed for both of these. So this is just my base attack speed. The other thing that I want to mention is the attack speed that you get from legendary gems and also from the eternal power. So this is extremely important part of the video. So because basically I'm not going for the Vithu's 30% attack speed here, what I actually went for instead is 4 pieces of the Lightning Nova Eternal, and this basically gives me 32% increased attack speed when I spam my Lightning Nova. In fact, if I just press it once, it should increase by 32%. So let's just have a quick look at that. So if we take a look at my attack speed, like I said, it's 25%, and let's just press Lightning Nova once here. So there we go. It was a bit laggy, but it's fine. And let's go to my attack speed. As you can see now, it's 57, up from 25, which is a really impressive boost to my attack speed. And this actually is even better than the Vithu's attack speed. So why am I mentioning the Vithu's attack speed? Well, basically, there are certain buckets for attack speed, and certain buckets don't stack. So what do I mean by that? Well, basically the Lightning Nova bonus that you get is in the same bucket as the Vithu's bonus. So if you do have the 30% Vithu's here, it isn't going to count towards your attack speed. I'll just quickly show that. So let's actually put on 2 bracelets of Vithu's here. So let's just quickly do that. So I'll just put this one on here, and I'll just put this one on the other bracelet here. So there we go. So once I've done that, now you can see that I have 4 pieces of Vithu's, and let's go back again and show my Lightning Nova. So if I press Lightning Nova, you can see that the Vithu's bonus is now active, and the attack speed bonus is active there as well. But as you can see here, my attack speed is still only 57%, and this is because only the highest damage buff is taken into effect. So basically what this essentially means is if you have the 4-piece Lightning Nova, which gives it 32, you're basically going to be above this 30%. So in actual fact, this 4-piece bonus is doing nothing for me. So this is why I decided to switch up into the 4-piece Baron, and I believe that this is working really well. So I've just gone back to my original setup here, which is the Banquet and the Barons. And the other thing that I want to mention, which is in the same bucket as the Vithu's and also the Eternal Legendary Power, is basically the Ghosted Cursed property. Ghosted gives you attack speed. If you have 6 pieces of it, I believe it gives you something like 12% attack speed. Can't really remember, but I tested this, and unfortunately the attack speed bonus did not work. And this is because it's in the same bucket as the 4-piece Vithu's and also the 4 Eternal. So it's not worth going for that either. The other thing that's in the same bucket is actually the attack speed that you get from Legendary Essence. I'm not sure if all Legendary Essence are in the same bucket as this, but the new Essence that we got, which is the Offhand Essence, which is the Nexus Runt. So that Essence gives you 19% increased attack speed when you press your Lightning Nova. And unfortunately, this does not stack with Vithu's. It does not stack with the Eternal Power. So basically what you want to do is go for the highest attack speed buff from those pool, and in my case the highest attack speed buff that I found is the 4 out of 4 Eternal. So if you don't have the 4 out of 4 Eternal, then I would actually really recommend that you do go for the 4 pieces of Vithu's and not bother with this Eternal property at all. If you're not able to actually farm up with the Terra Essence, then that is kind of the way that I would go. This is what I mean by if you don't look at the fine details like the magic attributes, then suddenly the choices are all going to change. So if you do go for the 4 pieces of Vithu's, in that case you can always go for 4-piece Vithu, 4-piece Banquet if you don't have the crit chance gems, or 4-piece Vithu for Baron, 4-piece Vithu for Grace of the Flagellant would work pretty well as well. So aside from that bucket of attack speed buffs, the other bucket of attack speed buffs is the attack speed that you get from legendary gems. So we have the gem like Void Spark here, which I've mentioned, which I'm gaining 8% increased attack speed for. So this actually stacks with the Eternal Power that I've mentioned here for Lightning Nova. So all of the legendary effects seem to stack. So even if you have attack speed coming from a different gem, let's say you have something like Grim Rhythm gem, which gives you attack speed, or even Wolfheart gem, which gives you attack speed, these would actually stack together along with the Void Spark and also the attack speed from the Entropic Well that I have here. This also gives you skill attack speed. So this is really good because basically what it means is you can actually reach the 100% attack speed bonus. So if we just take a look at my personal attack speed that I have right now, like I said, I have 25%, but if I actually start hitting the dummy here, let's just quickly do that. My game is lagging a bit, but it's fine. So I'll just actually hit the dummy here just so my Void Spark procs, and once my Void Spark procs, there you go, you can see I got the 8% attack speed, so this is the 33%, and what I'm going to do now is actually wait a bit just so my Void Spark resets, because what I want to test is the Void Spark along with the Lightning Nova. I want to show this, that it's actually working to you guys. So let's just go ahead and try this again. So what I'm going to do is wait until my Void Spark procs. So there we go, my Void Spark is procking. I'm going to hit my Lightning Nova once and then go to my inventory, and as you can see here, my attack speed has gone up to 65%, which is the maximum that I can get right now. So this is 25 plus 32 plus the 8 from Void Spark, and the attack speed that isn't tracked here is unfortunately the attack speed for skills. So this works kind of like the attack speed for primary attack, which isn't mentioned here, but basically this should go on top of your attack speed. So I should actually have 69% attack speed in actual facts, which means that I can get another 31% attack speed. So for the other options to get me to the 100% attack speed, obviously I could rank up my Void Spark even more. If I had it at rank 9, this would actually give me 16% attack speed, which is really crazy. The other options are Wolfheart. Wolfheart at rank 9 gives 14% attack speed, and the other really good gem which gives attack speed is the Battle Pass gem, which unfortunately I don't have any copies of. It's the Grim Rhythm, and that gives 24% attack speed at maximum stack. So in actual fact, even though my legendary gem setup is pretty optimal, it's far from the most optimal because I'm not reaching the 100% attack speed. So if I were to get the Void Spark to rank 9, this would give me an extra 8%. And if I were to replace my Mother's Lament to a Grim Rhythm, which would give me 24%, this would actually get me to 101 attack speed, which is really good. So it's 69 plus the 24 plus the extra 8 from the Void Spark. And the way I would replace the Mother's Lament is if I would rank up my Rolling Consequence to rank 10, this would give me the increased critical hit chance, and also getting it as the missing magic attributes. So here, for example, I should have critical hit chance instead. I'm also missing it on some of my other pieces like here. And if I were to get those pieces and also get the increased critical hit chance from my pets, then I could replace the Grim Rhythm here and also have the increased critical hit chance. So this is what I mean by always being flexible to change your setup up depending on the resources that you have. You do, however, want to be careful not to invest too much into attack speed because, like critical hit chance, it also does have a cap of 100%. So you don't want to be running full attack speed gems like Void Spark, Wolfheart, Entropic Well, and Grim Rhythm all at the same time, because this is going to take you over the 100% attack speed cap and it isn't really going to be that useful. So it all depends on what magic attributes you have and how much you want to invest into this. So always do the calculation based on your own character. So apart from cooldown, critical hit chance, and attack speed, which I believe are the most important magical attributes, there's also the beneficial effect duration, which unfortunately isn't tracked here. So I've tried to go for beneficial effect duration on most of the items. So that's the belt, the boots, and also the chest and the pants here. And you also can get beneficial effect duration from the Reforgers. I've kind of gone in depth into how beneficial effect duration works in another one of my videos, so I'm not going to talk too much about it here, but just if you can get your hands on it, then do go for it, as it is one of the more important roles. It does extend the duration of your skills, and also things like the Rolling Consequence duration, like the 6-second duration here for some of the gems, it does actually work there, so it is actually a very important stat. What I want to do now is go to the blacksmith and go to the enchant tab, and what you can actually do is re-roll some of these stats that you don't like. So let's say, for example, this ring didn't have cooldown, you could re-roll it here. So like I said, cooldown is one of the most important ones, so you could always re-roll them on any of these pieces. Unfortunately, I can't re-roll it here because I've gone for damage to enemies suffering loss of control, which is another very important roll, but I do believe that cooldown might actually be more important than this, but this is actually a very, very important stat to have. So let's talk about kind of the stats that you want. So with cooldown, I've already mentioned it. The other important stat, like I mentioned, is the critical hit chance. So critical hit chance, unfortunately, I don't have it on my helmet here. So this could already be a lot better if I had a different role instead of the primary attack damage. I do have two useful roles though, which are the attack speed and the lightning nova damage. Potentially I could re-roll the attack speed here, but I have been spending a lot of my gold to re-roll all of these and test all different kinds of magic attributes for you guys. So yeah, if you're enjoying this content, then please do like, because I've lost a lot of gold just testing this. Unfortunately, it is 100k gold to actually test and change up some of these, so that's very unfortunate. But aside from this, I'm also missing a critical hit chance, but I do have it here, 3%, and let's just quickly show here. I also have it 4%. I've got it here. I had it already at 3%, so I went for the damage to enemies suffering loss of control. And here I'm missing it. I wish I had a third stat, which is 4% critical hit chance. This could be really good. Let's say you have 4 attributes on your weapons, then I would go for critical hit chance, attack speed, damage to enemies suffering loss of control, and then lightning nova if you don't have it. So if you didn't know, the eternal powers cannot be re-rolled here. So these weren't an option for me to reroll. And then finally here, I do have critical hit chance as my last item here. So let's talk about the other magical attributes you want. So I've already mentioned damage to enemies suffering loss of control. You can also get this on your gloves here. So in the perfect world, I would have damage to enemies and also cooldown here. But aside from these, the other ones that you do want to look out for is the skill damage. So skill damage can roll up to 4%. So if we click on the button here, we can see the range of all of these. And skill damage is a really good one to have. And also critical hit damage. I believe that skill damage is slightly better because the critical hit damage will only be affected when you crit. If you do have a really high crit, then since this can roll to 6%, potentially this could be better. But I believe that the skill damage is just more consistent, and the critical hit damage calculations can sometimes be a bit off in this game, just from my testing that I've seen. Primary attack damage sucks, like I said. Attack speed is a really good one. Demon damage is also a really good one because it can roll up to 8%. The bad part is that it is only a PvE stat and it doesn't work on the dummy, like I said. So I've already got this on my reforges and it can roll up to 6% there. I think the only other magic attribute which I haven't mentioned yet is the damage to enemies below 30% life, which can roll on rings here. So it's this one here. Damage to enemies is increased by 8% to enemies below 30% life. So honestly, in a perfect world, if you have 2 stats on your ring or more, you would go for cooldown, and this stat here, that's just the best for the PvE setup in my opinion.
And take time, invest time. If you don't invest the time, you will never get the desired result. As I've always said, perfection is lots of little things done well. If you can't fry an onion, how can you make a sauce? Think about it. If you don't question what's happening, where's your understanding?
And yeah, that's about it, I think. So yeah, in a perfect world, there is still a huge amount of improvement I can make for this, just to get the increased damage to enemy suffering loss of control on all of these pieces, and also critical hit chance on all of these pieces. And I could also, of course, go for attack speed. In my opinion, it's really, really good. So other than this, other improvements I could make would be probably to the charm, like I mentioned, or to the pet traits, like I mentioned. And the more obvious one would probably be to actually increase the rank of my 2-star gems here. None of them are at rank 10 besides the Morn Skull. All of these are at rank 7 or 8. You can see Mother's Lament, Pain Clasp, and the Fervent Fang. So getting all of these to a rank 10 would be really good, and it would also allow me to unlock the last 2-star gem slot here, which is actually pretty important because you want to go for the second talent here, which gives you 2% skill damage. So I'm missing 2% skill damage on all of these 2-star gems. I think they can all roll it besides the Pain Clasp. Pain Clasp has some weird talents here. These are just defensive ones, I think. But other than Pain Clasp, all of these 5-star gems as well do have that 2% increased skill damage, which you do want to go for, which is the second one here. So there is still a long way to go for this build. I do believe that the more optimal gem setup, like I mentioned, would be good to go for something like Grim Rhythm or Wolf Heart here instead of this Mother's Lament, because you won't need the critical hit chance if you have a high rank rolling consequence, like I already mentioned.